Okay, so now that I've used these things for a season in the woods and whatnot, and on the roads while we were hunting, figured I'd give a quick few, first impressions of my Interco Sniper 920s that I put on this thing, relative to the Bighorn Maxuses that were on it when I got it, which were also good tires. I never really had an issue with them. It's just, I do a lot of street driving up in our lease, and they were loud, and when the front end all wore out and failed, they really wore funny in the front, so I needed to replace them anyway, and I wanted to go with something a little more street oriented. I've had a note, a rather aggressive note, just in case anyone thinks they can run these on the street because they have a DOT sticker on them. Well, they're not really I mean, I guess you could if you got a set of 15 by 30s or whatever that might fit on a Cherokee. I mean, personally, I'd run them, but I don't know, just because they have a DOT sticker doesn't necessarily mean, I guess, they may or may not be road legal. So make of that what you will. Certainly I'm thinking as long as you keep it under the load rating and the speed rating, you will not have any issues. Be that as it may, I have to say I am thoroughly impressed with these tires. Never had an issue, and I got into some serious goo a few times. A friend of mine stuck his OBS Chevy about up to the doors in a river, and I had to get to it, and we managed. I didn't pull him out with this thing, obviously, but I managed to go get him and bring him back. And one of the things I will say is, when I first got up to the lease and was driving around, I was playing with it, and I honestly thought that the front diff had failed and that I didn't have four-wheel drive. But what had actually happened is the front diff on these, I believe the Hilliard style or whatever, it's an overrunning differential. So if you're rolling forwards and your front tire speed is equal to, or let's say greater than, your rear wheel speed, the front end won't bite because it's not being driven. It overruns. But if the front end starts slowing down versus the rear, then the front end bites and drives. And I had a few instances where I just, I had it in four-wheel drive and I just didn't feel the front end was biting much. I never got stuck and never stopped, but it just didn't feel, it felt different. But then when I was going to get my friend after he stuck his Chevy, I got into some serious stuff and had to lay into it in four-wheel drive, and the front end really started driving, and I had 4 rooster tails coming off of it. So I think what the difference is, for whatever reason, these rear tires on this thing bite so well compared to even the Bighorns that I had on it, that the front end never needed to go into 4. It was the strangest thing. But when I needed it, it was there. And I just tested it this morning after I changed all the fluids in the differentials again. And it, sure enough, you put it in, turf, and you got open rear end, you put it in lock, and the rear end locks, you put it in 4, and you step on it, and all 4 wheels spin. So it's absolutely working the way it's supposed to. It just blew my mind that these tires, for, let's say, a less aggressive looking pattern than the Bighorns and the other stuff, they really gripped in the mud and in the goo up there in southern Arkansas. I was extremely happy once I figured out that my front end wasn't bad. That it's just I never need 4-wheel drive hardly, so I just started running it in 2 lock, and it was like no problem. So save a little bit of wear and tear. But that's a quick commentary on the Interco Sniper 920s that I put on this thing. And I mean, they're great. They're very quiet. You actually hear the engine now when you're driving rather than just the tire whine on the road. This thing, with these tires, it cuts out at about 50 miles an hour, as according to the speedometer. I never had my GPS out to see what that is. It's probably closer to 55 because these are taller than what the speedometer was geared for. but super stable with these tires at that speed. No issues with the suspension that I did. That made a big difference, cleaning it all up, tightening and everything up. So I've been really happy with this thing. You know, we had one of the guys up there has a really impressive Honda unit. And I mean, it's nice. I really like it. It's a big unit, and it's actually got doors from the factory that close rather than this netting stuff. If I were to get something different, I'd probably go with that. But yeah, they're $20,000 new, and this is paid for. You know, it takes a little bit of work here and there, a little bit of grease, a little bit of oil, a few tires, and some stuff. But paid for counts for a fair bit in my book. So we'll go for a quick ride, just see how everything works. Got a little bit of deer food in the back. See how we got. Not bad. Yeah, we'll just keep it turf. Yep, still running good, which is nice. So that's it. That's my commentary on the Interco Sniper 920s on my little Polaris 570. I like them a lot, and I would definitely recommend them for your off-road side-by-side type needs. So hope you're all having a good first couple days of the new year. We'll talk to you later.